Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. Welcome to the 2 p.m. show with me, Beth. And I'm sorry I'm a little 5 minutes late, a little bit late. We're just getting an update for everyone today. But hello to everyone in the comments. And you've seen the thumbnail, you've seen the title. We are talking about a goalkeeper this afternoon, and we're talking about a goalkeeper that a lot of us will be very familiar with, as he had a good stint at Old Trafford in a lot of the fans' eyes. And we are talking about Romero, Sergio Romero, a keeper that had 6 seasons at United. In them 6 seasons, only had 7 league appearances. But there's a little bit of shocking news coming out today. And I saw you guys in the comments before I went live saying, surely this is unlikely, surely this isn't going to happen. But it is a news show. We are here to report the news. And it is coming from Richard Fay, that former MUFC goalkeeper, Sergio Romero, would be open to a return to Old Trafford. United, however, haven't signalled a formal interest in signing him. So that quote coming out there, Romero potentially looking for a club and would be interested in coming back to United to work under Erik ten Hag. We know he is a second choice keeper for us. He would be a second choice keeper. When he was at the club, he always knew his place as a second choice goalkeeper, which I think is really important. And to me, he is the best second choice goalkeeper, the best backup goalkeeper that we've had. I think was absolutely brilliant. He knew his place. There was never a debate whether he should be in over De Gea. It was always De Gea first choice keeper, Romero second. But if we ever had to call upon him, he was always there and he always performed at a very, very high level. He was mistreated by the club. A lot of you guys will know that. He left during Ollie's tenure at the club. There was a lot of falling outs because, I mean, he didn't play in the Europa League semi-final against Sevilla when he played the whole tournament, which I thought was a little disrespectful. I understand you have your first choice keeper and you have your second choice keeper, but he'd been so good throughout that tournament, to drop him for the semi-final was a little bit harsh. And he potentially maybe thought he should have had a little bit more time in the cup competitions, which he did get under previous managers such as Jose Mourinho. But it is being rumoured that Sergio Romero could potentially be on his way back to Old Trafford as a second choice goalkeeper. And another quote coming in from Richard Fay, saying a source close to Sergio Romero admitted that he still has a lot of love for the club and that he would always come back if the offer was made. So it seems like in this situation, Romero was open to coming back. He would want to come back to the club. It's just whether Manchester United would put that deal to him and get him in as a second choice keeper. I think it would be a brilliant move. He wouldn't cost too much money. His wages wouldn't be too high. And the fact we were looking at Bachmann a couple of weeks ago and that deal kind of fell apart, a keeper that for me was one of the worst in the league last year. He was second choice to Ben Foster at Watford. He isn't a good keeper in my opinion, and we were looking to pay money for him, and we've just loaned out Dean Henderson. I think Romero would be so much better in every single way, and he would be a great move for Manchester United. It's like when you have De Gea, Romero and Heaton in, everyone knows the roles. De Gea, first choice, Romero, second choice, Heaton, third choice. You have that with Henderson, and there's always that debate coming from the English media. There's always that debate coming from the Henderson fans, whether he should be starting. It is the perfect situation, and everyone knows the place, and that's the most important thing. But get in the comments down below, what do you think about Romero? Do you think he should come back? I think the fact he's open to coming back after the way we treated him, which I thought was horrible and disrespectful after 6 brilliant seasons at the club, and the fact he only got 7 league appearances in them as well, and he seemed like he was such a big figure. I think it's great that he'd want to come back and play as our second choice keeper after what happened. So I think United would be stupid not to go for this deal, if I'm being honest with you. I think it's a brilliant deal to do, and I think it makes perfect sense. And he can play in the Europa League. Absolutely, that's the thing. He would get them cup competitions, and he's a keeper that you would trust to play in them cup competitions. Extremely experienced, has the most caps for Argentina. He did retire from international football in 2018, so he's got the experience there to play in these competitions, where we will be looking to get far in these competitions this year. We will be looking to go deep into these competitions, and we need squad depth, and we need a keeper that can do that. Tony Swinton says, yes, bring him back. Daniel Coleman, he's better than De Gea. I mean, I wouldn't play him over De Gea, but I do think he's a very good second choice goalkeeper. And Dylan, MUFC, I'd have him back in a heartbeat. Very good keeper, bring him home. And yeah, exactly. He's so loved within the fan base as well, which is really, really important. I think to have that respect in the fan base, which Romero has, he'd come back in and he slot straight in. He'd go straight back into that squad. It would be seamless, in my opinion. So I think it would be definitely a good move. Brian McAlachen, we treated him absolutely horribly, but he was a very good and honourable player. I agree. And Kevin Mowry, I don't mind it. I just wonder why we didn't sell Henderson instead of loaning him out. I mean, that's on a lot of people's minds. It's on a lot of people's minds why we didn't sell Henderson. Potentially, they might be looking to drum up the fee by having a good loan spell. Maybe they actually are waiting to see if Ten Hag could potentially give him a chance after his loan next season, because we know there's a lot of people in the club that root for Henderson in that way. I'm not sure what the situation was with it. Sorry, I got a sore throat then. What the situation was with it. But I think you can always get a keeper in if De Gea doesn't work out. He's going to be given a chance by Ten Hag, but you can always go and buy another keeper that Ten Hag wants or Ten Hag will scout. Whereas now we need the money. So I agree, selling Henderson would have been the best solution, but that's not happened. He is going on loan to Nottingham Forest, so it's just something we've got to accept. Muriel Alvarez says, I love him. I'd love to have him back, especially as a free. Exactly. He's someone, it just doesn't make sense to be spending a lot of money right now on a second choice goalkeeper when we've got so many other areas in the club that I would rather spend money on. Like if someone told me now Heaton is going to be second choice and I'd bring a youth player in to be third choice, I would be absolutely okay with that, because there's just money that I think we need to spend elsewhere. Getting Romero in on a free, I think, would be perfect. It'd be great business, in my opinion. Ben Holland, I'm surprised we aren't going for Souček. Souček's had good seasons for West Ham and he's a good player, but I wouldn't want him in United's midfield, in my personal opinion. But other people might have different opinions. I just think we should be going for some. Like you think about Souček and you think about Jong. No offense to Souček, I think he's a good player. He's been a good player in the Premier League, but there's just certain players that play at the highest level and certain players that play at a West Ham. And I know that sounds rich coming from a United fan who West Ham and Man United were very, very equal, and West Ham almost got the Europa League spot last year. But we'll be aiming to go very far, and I just don't think he is the type of player to go there. Going on a little bit of the tangent there. Tottenham looking to get Spencer as well. Yeah, it's disappointing we've got no signings in before July the 1st. It is really, really disappointing we've not got any in. I mean, we could already get we could get a here we go today. We could get a here we go potentially tomorrow. I think tomorrow is more likely because it is July the 1st. It sounds weird, but it just sounds better on July the 1st. I think there's some sort of financial situation with La Liga in Barcelona that does end on the 29th of June, and going into July, a new month, they don't have certain financial ties to La Liga that they would have to pay. So I think July the 1st would make a lot of sense if we're looking at the De Jong situation. We know the fees agreed. We know personal terms have agreed. We know that this deal is nearly here. It would make sense for it to happen on July the 1st or potentially over the weekend in the first week of July. And again, for Malacia, I just think with United, they'd want to announce it on the start of a new month. It's a strange philosophy, but I definitely think that could happen. But you never know, we might get here we go today. But I just think it is more likely it would happen on July the 1st. But looking at De Jong and looking at Malacia, potentially the first two signings of the Erik ten Hag era, we have another quote coming from Richard Fay saying United would also welcome Frankie De Jong and Tyrone Malacia to Carrington for the first time before the tour, though it depends when their moves are finalised. So that quote is saying that Manchester United could welcome Frankie De Jong and Tyrone Malacia to Carrington before the pre-season tour, which starts at the end of next week. So this is a good sign for me. I do think, despite how slow we have been in the transfer window, I think we will want signings in before the pre-season tour. We'll want these signings holding up the new kit, and I think the new kit is very, very key. And I think the new kit is going to come out in the next couple of weeks, and they're going to want these signings holding up the new kit. They're going to want to sell the kits in that way. So it wouldn't surprise me if we held off for the kit release and we held off just before the pre-season tour, because Erik ten Hag is going to want to bring a new signing on the pre-season tour. And Erik ten Hag is going to want players in. So I do think these deals are on the verge of having here we goes, on the verge of happening. But I would find it more likely for them to happen over the course of this weekend or potentially next week, just due to the timing corresponding with the new kits and announcing them just before the pre-season tour as well. And Beth, you're very lucky you came live a day before Tyrone Molassie was hijacked. I'm hoping for something special today. Exactly. Last time I was live on the United stand, we didn't have a Here We Go, but we had the announcements from Sporting Director of Feyenoord for Tyrone Molassie, and we also had David Ornstein confirming the move and confirming that we were just trying to get personal terms done with Tyrone Molassie. So maybe there's good luck going on, and potentially we could get some more news coming out today. But as I said before, I see it happening next week or potentially this weekend as well. It just depends how Manchester United want to time it with when they're going to get the most interaction, when they're going to get the most clicks, and when are they going to get the most viewings. That's what they'll be looking at right now, and when they can announce it. And also Barcelona as well. July the 1st, I said it a few weeks ago, and I said I think it's a good date for signings to come in, and potentially it might happen. Romero's a great keeper, completely agree. Kit is out tomorrow, Beth. Is that confirmed that the kit is out tomorrow? Oh, I did not know that. I should have known that. I thought the kit was coming out at the start of next week, but the kit is out tomorrow. So that's what I mean, guys. July the 1st, and with the kit coming out, it just sounds good and it just looks good. I should have known that the kit is out tomorrow. That is, but it's out tomorrow. It's confirmed for you. And yeah, it just would look good for the players to be in that kit and holding up that kit. And that is what Manchester United will want. They'll want the most money possible. When do you think De Jong deal will be announced and Malacia? I would say anytime after the 1st of July. I think I've heard that they want Frenkie de Jong in Old Trafford and at the stadium to announce him and announce him with the marketing. So you'd have to get de Jong over to Manchester, get him the kit, get all that sorted, and then put it out. But that can all happen within a number of hours. With Malacia, you could always send in the kit. He might be brought over. I wouldn't be surprised if you had them both holding up the kit together. I feel like potentially they'd want to do it separately to kind of have more effect and give it more longevity to long out the signings and get the most money and get the most clicks out of them as possible. But you could have them both holding up the shirt like the double Dutch duo or something like that, and it could be a really good marketing scheme in that sense of it. So I think both of them are going to happen definitely around the same time, and it's just a matter of time now, but definitely through the start of next week, I think we'll start to see something happen, or potentially even from tomorrow. But hopefully we get a Here We Go soon, and hopefully we get these players over the line. But I wanted to ask you guys as well, with Frenkie de Jong coming in, with Tyrone Molassie coming in, you've got 2 Dutch players coming in now to the squad. You've already got Donny van der Beek there, who looks like he's training well. And you've got players with hearing staying after training time. We've got players coming in early in the morning before Ten Hag. We could start to see these clicks disassociate as soon as these players come in. You've got players for example, in Frenkie de Jong, who knows what it's like to work under Erik Ten Hag, who knows what Erik Ten Hag expects. You've also got that in Donny van der Beek as well. And now you've got Tyrone Molassie coming in, another Dutch player we know when players are from the same country, they usually have this friendship going on. You usually have that group because they've got the same native language. They've gone through the same culture together. You see it with Alex Telles, Fred and Bruno. They seem to have their own little clique going on. So you're going to have Erik Ten Hag's own, not cliques, but you're going to have people coming in to disrupt what the cliques are in the dressing room. And I think it's really important that you have players there who know the standards and are going to work hard and are going to know what the pressure is going to be like under Erik Ten Hag. I mean, we've seen it with the training already. And that's another thing I wanted to bring up with you guys. With the training videos that we've seen coming out, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Well, I could believe it because I know Erik Ten Hag is a tracksuit manager and he's a very good coach. But for example, when our last manager was in charge, I'm not talking about Rangnick, I'm talking about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he would openly say in press conferences that he doesn't coach the team, he just leave it to McKenna and Carrick. And he would openly just be stood there on the training ground, not really getting involved in the coaching. We've got Erik Ten Hag, a very successful manager of Ajax, a very good coach, and you've already got these videos out on the second day of training, third day of training, of him. And it's not as if it's groundbreaking stuff. He's doing diagonal passing moves. He's doing a lot of passing moves on the training ground. He's doing fitness tests, but it's like we've not seen that in such a long time. And I think it's really, really good to see these coaching videos coming out and these training videos out, which look so much different to what we've had in the past. And I'm hoping as well, when you get these players such as Jong in Malaysia, and potentially other signings in as well. But the most important one is De Jong. Getting De Jong in, a player that Erik ten Hag, he wants him as the cog in his team. He wants to build a project around him. He can really start taking his coaching to the next level. And as well in pre-season, it's so important that we get him in beforehand. So we get to see how this team is going to develop into a team that's going to play the Erik ten Hag way, and you kind of get to iron out the knots, iron out the creases of stuff that doesn't work with the main player in it, which is De Jong. So I'm hoping that we do get to see that coming quickly, so we get to see Erik ten Hag do this coaching and get in place his tactics for pre-season with a player that is most important to him, because that's why it's so important as well to bring someone in at the start of the window before pre-season. It's so important because we're playing catch up as Manchester United. We've seen Conte transform Spurs over the course of the season. We've seen Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp, how well drilled their teams are. We see Chelsea now spending a lot of money, and Tuchel already he knows the squad. He knows what he's doing with the squad. He knows what's going to happen with that Chelsea team. Erik ten Hag has just walked through the door. Erik ten Hag is playing catch-up. He's got the worst Manchester United squad that we've had points-wise. He's got a squad that the dressing room was abysmal at the end of last season. He's got to fix the play style. He's got to fix the lack of coaching. So the least that he can do is get his main signings in before the pre-season starts, and get signings in that are going to make a difference so he can work on the tactics in pre-season. The last thing you want is players walking in during the season in August or at the end of August when he doesn't have the time on the training ground like he does now to adjust the team to the tactics and adjust the team to fit in these players in the starting 11 and build the chemistry. That's why it's so important. Ten Hag is taking on a mammoth job here at Manchester United, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm getting excited by the training videos. I'm getting excited of seeing Ten Hag out there coaching the team and coaching players such as Ahmad and players that we know have potential to work their way into the first team but aren't quite there yet. And under a new manager could massively excel. But it's so important that the least we can do is get players in so he has time to work with them and time to adjust. Because the last thing you want is Erik ten Hag going into the season is having to squeeze in training sessions midweek during the start of the season so you can adjust the team to the tactics with new players in and get new players up to speed with the fitness, with the way that they are training, with the way that they're going to play games. So it's really important that we get these signings in. And Priceless Gem has actually just put a chat in. I feel Pau Torres is way better than Martinez and Timber. I don't agree that Pau Torres is way better than Martinez and Timber. I've watched each and every one of them play. And for me, I think Timber is the one I would want. I think he's got the highest ceiling. I think he's the person that Ten Hag wanted first. Unfortunately, it looks like Timber has been persuaded by Louis van Gaal during the Netherlands camp that he might not get first team playing for Manchester United this season, and therefore he might not be able to go to the World Cup. But for me, it's like, as a player, I would want his attitude to be, I can get in for Manchester United at the start of the season. I know Erik ten Hag's style of football. I know exactly what he wants from me. Why can't he dislodge Maguire, who has had a poor season for Manchester United and isn't going to be up to speed with Ten Hag's style of football? So the mentality starts to wander in there as, do you actually believe in your own ability, and do you believe that you are good enough to make this switch over to the Premier League? I'm not. I think it is a doubt, because I'd want a player that really believes in themselves and thinks that they're going to come in and get first team football. And first team football can't always be guaranteed as well. You've got to make your way into the team, and you've got to be able to be up for the fight and be able to have a battle and show why you are better than the other players in your position. And when it comes to Pau Torres, I like him. I think he's a decent defender. I watched him a lot in the Champions League, obviously with Villarreal, and we know the Manchester United and Villarreal stories over the last couple of years and the games that we've had to play against him. But what I don't think about Pau Torres is I don't think he's got the high ceiling to play amazingly in the Premier League. I don't think he'd come to a Premier League club and be one of the best Premier League defenders like we see in Diaz, Van Dijk. Romero came in and made an instant impact. Rudiger, who's just left. I think there's certain players that are really built and can do well in the Premier League. For me, Pau Torres, I just see him as a little bit of a glorified Lindelof, in my opinion. I don't see much difference between the two players. I think he could potentially be shoved off the ball a little bit, and he has got height, but his aerial ability isn't even that good when I was looking through his stats, considering how tall he is. So it's not all about height. But then when it comes to Martinez, you've got the fact he is 5'9". Could that be successful in the Premier League? He's got a great leap on him, and it depends how you read the game. I agree. But when it comes to Premier League defenders over the years, and of course things can change, and of course you can be a shorter centre-back and have a very good career, but have you seen a top class Premier League centre-back that's under 6 foot by quite a stretch as well? I'm not sure. So for me, all three have the doubts and jubilations, but Erik ten Hag is definitely after a centre-back, is what we know. And I think it was Timber that's massively cooled off. I think now we'll see us going for Martinez, potentially get in the race with Arsenal. But is it a massively exciting signing for me? Not quite. But do I think if Erik ten Hag wants to play, you've got to go out and get them? Absolutely. So Scott Wilson, Pau Torres is another fridge. I don't think he is a fridge. I think he is a good defender. I think he's agile. I think he's got movement, but I just don't see him being a top class centre back in the Premier League. If I'm honest with you, Beth, De Ligt is a leader we need at United 100%. I think De Ligt is a player we would have definitely been in for if we had a bigger fund and if we had more money to spend in the transfer window, but unfortunately we don't. It's rumoured that our budget is around 120 million euros. We're going to be spending 56 of that up front with De Jong. Actually, if you're looking at that's 56 pounds. If looking at euros, spending 65 million euros up front with De Jong. We've just spent 40 million on Malacia. That budget is slowly eating away. To go in and get a player like De Ligt, it's just not feasible with the fee. But I agree with you. He is definitely a good player and definitely a player I think we would have been interested in if we didn't have such a small budget this summer. And as well, you think about him going to Chelsea. Chelsea this summer, they're going potentially for Rafinha, Sterling, De Ligt, Koundé is on their list. They've got a lot of spending that they're going to do this summer, and it just, again, when we're behind, it really, it makes you worried as a United fan when we're so behind these top teams and we're trying to chase, and they're just going even further and further to advance their teams. Like City, Liverpool, Chelsea, even Tottenham, they're all looking at very, very good targets or have got these deals over the line already. And Manchester United, don't get me wrong, I think De Jong and Malacia are brilliant signings, but we need to make sure that we get in the signings that we need for Erik ten Hag. And I think with this window, if we get Malacia, De Jong, Eriksen potentially, but whether Eriksen will make the decision to come to Manchester United or not, I'm not too sure. I would, if I had to put money on it, I would say you would. But you get them players in as well as Anthony and potentially Martinez. For me, still, you're lacking in the striker department if Martial goes, depending on whether Martial goes. You're lacking in the right back department. I think we do need a right back, and I think Dumfries will be a brilliant sign. And also as well, it's the CDM. We had to address the CDM last year. We've still not addressed it this year. A CDM is massively needed, but I do not think Manchester United will be going for one this year. I really don't. I think the only news we've had really is around De Jong and Eriksen, both not CDMs, but it is a position that we have to focus on, but it just seems like we're not. Andy and Bruno, Beth, we need a CDM like Neves to play along Frankie. Took the words right out of my mouth, Andy and Bruno. Exactly what I was saying. We need a CDM massively, and it's a shame that we've not gone for one. MUFC have proposed a bid of their own to beat Arsenal to Lisandro Martinez this summer. A bidding war seems to be underway now, coming from Hernandisto on Twitter. We've just had that news coming through, a little bit of breaking news there. The MUFC have proposed their own bid to beat Arsenal to Lisandro Martinez this summer. A bidding war now seems to be underway. Get in the comments what you think about that. Do you think it is good that we're getting in a race for Arsenal for Lisandro Martinez? I think it would be absolutely hilarious if Chelsea sweeps up Rafinha and then we sweeps up Martinez from Arsenal, because it just puts Arsenal fans back in the place and realises where they are in the pecking order for certain players. But also, do I want to be paying over the odds for Lisandro Martinez? I don't. But again, you've got to come back to the point. If it's a player that Erik ten Hag wants, you've got to go and get him. And that's what we did with Malacia. We came in at the last minute. That would not have happened if it wasn't for Erik ten Hag, by the way, wanting this player and pushing for this player. We would not have gone in for Malacia at the last minute and swooped him off Lyon. We would have just let that deal go. But we did. We went in and we got the player. And this could seem like is what's going to happen now with Lisandro Martinez. And do you want us to get Lisandro Martinez? Get it in the comments, because I think he's a good player and he knows the Erik ten Hag system. Player of the year for Ajax. He's a very, very good player. I'm just not sure whether he would be successful in the Premier League 100%, whether he would be able to handle the likes of Erling Haaland, for example, at Manchester City. I'm not, or the likes of Harry Kane. I'm not too sure, but if it's a player that Erik ten Hag wants and he thinks it'll work in his system, you've got to go and get him. It's just 40 million. Is he worth that amount of money? For me, 30 to 35 million would be a good deal for him. 40 million is rumoured to what Arsenal is going to be putting in for him. If we're going to propose a bid that's going to trump Arsenal, is it going to end up being 40 to the 45 million mark? It probably will be. And then you look at the budget kind of slipping away. But if it's what Erik ten Hag wants, it's what Erik ten Hag wants. I just hope he's a centre-back. If we're spending money on players this season, I hope it's for a player that's going to start in the starting 11. That's all I would say. With Martinez, if we buy him now as the centre-back, I think he's got to start in the starting 11. If we're wasting money this season on players that are going to sit on the bench, this summer transfer window when it's so important, I really would rather spend the money elsewhere on a player that's going to improve the starting 11. The starting 11 last year was so poor. We need players that are going to come in and win them places. And would Martinez do that? I'm not sure, but I'm hoping he would if we're going to spend our budget on him. PJC says, rather have Timber, Beth. I think a lot of people would rather have Timber. And it just, unfortunately, you can't force the players to come. We wanted him. It seems like it was going to happen, but I think he's worried about his game time. So that deal's massively gone cold. And I think if we had any chance of getting him, we wouldn't be pursuing Martinez, to be honest with you. I think we would be going in on Timber and trying to convince him. I think that deal's massively cooled off. I think Timber thinks it'd be best to stay at Ajax for another year. So we've gone on to Martinez. So I think with Timber, I don't think we could see that deal getting done, to be honest with you. But Martinez did get Player of the Year and he was Timber's partner. It's just, I always thought when I've watched, Timber has a higher ceiling. But you never know, Martinez could be a brilliant defender and he could start in the starting 11. I just don't know, again, when he's coming up against a big centre forwards, whether he'd be able to handle them in the physicality of the Premier League, being 5'9". But again, Timber is 5'10", so it's not as if there's a massive difference. You've got to give players a chance, and it is about, in this day and age in football, your agility, how well you move, how well you read the game, how good you are on the ball, how good you are at maintaining pressure. So there is a lot of other attributes that are as important or more important than height. I mean, we've got Harry Maguire, who's got the height, but he's been awful all season. So it's not always all about the height. Ash Payterloo says 5 at the back, then defending, switching to 4-3-3 when attacking with Martinez shifting to CDM. It's not bad. Saw a lot of people saying, would Martinez play CDM? And I don't think he would, no. You never say never, but I don't think he would. I know he's played it for Ajax before, but his main sole position is as a centre back. And I think if we bought him, we would be buying him to be a centre back, not a CDM. But I know a lot of people have these ideas on players on whether they should play in different positions. For me, I think Martinez would play as a centre back, but it's always good to to have these ideas and think about how these players could be utilised, because we did have Daley Blind that could play in multiple positions as well and was used in times of need in multiple positions. So it's good to have a player that can do that. But I think if he's playing under Erik ten Hag, he's playing as a centre-back. It's just whether he gets into the starting 11. Guys, get in the comments below. Do you think Martinez gets in the starting 11 over either Varane or Maguire? Because I think Varane has to start if he's not injured. I know he's had problems with his injuries, which is really unfortunate. But if he's not injured, I think Varane has to start. Does Martinez start over Maguire, an £80 million signing that the club really wants to work out? Does he start? I'm not too sure. And if we're spending the money on him, I want a player that's going to be starting football games. Football Talk says Martinez is a CDM converted to centre back. He plays centre back for Ajax. He's played CDM a couple of times, but he plays centre back. And yes, he starts. No, he doesn't. 100% over Maguire. Martinez only played centre back last season. Before that, he played CDM. Yes, he has played CDM before, but he is a centre back, and I think he would say his position is a centre back. Erik ten Hag would say his position is a centre back. So I think if he came to Manchester United, he'd be playing as a centre back. But I could be proved wrong. A lot of people screaming out for a CDM. I agree. I think we massively need one. Potentially, imagine if he came in and did play CDM. We'd all be like, oh, we solved the CDM issue. But if he's going to come in and do that, I really don't see it happening when he's been playing as a centre-back under Erik ten Hag. Sarah Seen says, what's your thoughts on Ibrahim Sangare as a holding midfielder, or should Scholesy come out of retirement again, Beth? I mean, Scholesy coming out of retirement would do a better job than McTominay and Fred, I tell you that for free. But Sangare, I really like him as a player, another player I really like. But I think if we wanted him, we would be in for him. And that sounds like a Michael Owen quote. If you score and you win, it sounds like one of them. But with Erik ten Hag, he's watched Sangare. He's watched him a lot in the Dutch league. He's come up against really important matches against him with Ajax, and he's not on his priority wish list. If Erik ten Hag really highly rated him, I think he would be on his priority wish list, which it doesn't seem he is. So I doubt that we'd be in for him, but I know he's a fan favourite with the fans, and I think he'd be a brilliant signing for us and a brilliant player. I feel like him next to Jong would work so well. Sangare's more aggressive, a ball winner, De Jong progressive passing, and someone who can move the ball up the pitch. I think it works perfectly, but I don't think we're going to go in for him, unfortunately. It's a player that we'd want, but we probably wouldn't go in for. And yeah, guys, it seems like we're on this roll right now where we're just waiting for here we go. We're waiting for the confirmations. We know the deal's agreed for De Jong, and we know the deal's agreed for Malacia. We just need to know now that it's definitely happened, and we want it confirmed. And I'm sure everyone can't wait for the first signing to be holding up a new kit as well. And about Sergio Romero, if someone said to me now, do you think it'll happen? I think it won't. But I think it's a brilliant deal if United want to do it. It seems like Romero's there waiting for us to get him. It's just whether United want to go down that road again with someone who they've burnt bridges with in the past. But I think he'd be a brilliant backup keeper. But thank you to everyone watching the show. Thank you for everyone tuning in as well and getting your comments in. We're in limbo at the moment, and I'm just hoping that we can get a deal over the line soon. But thank you everyone for watching. Stay tuned for the 8 p.m. show. We might have a Here We Go by then, and if we do, of course, we'll be live